Women of Power podcast is a platform for passionate and influential women who are catalysts for change, pioneers in their fields, the change makers, the trailblazers, performers and influencers, driven entrepreneurs and professionals. They play a vital role in driving economic growth and bridging the talent shortages across organizations of various scales. Building cause-based businesses to create positive impact in their communities and towards sustainable goals for the people, planet, and prosperity. In every industry, women are shattering barriers and strive to create a space where they can exhibit their achievements and motivate other women to unleash their limitless potential. We encourage collaboration, networking, and knowledge sharing among women. Let's inspire and learn from one another while sharing our valuable experiences. Thank you for joining us and listening to this episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Women of Power podcast. Women of Power podcast is a platform for passionate and influential women who are catalysts of change, pioneers of their field, the change makers, the trailblazers, the performers, the influencer, and driven entrepreneurs and professionals. They play a vital role in driving economic growth and bridging talent shortages across the organizations of various scales. Building cause-based businesses to create positive impact in their communities towards the sustainable goals for people, planet, and prosperity. Women of Power is a dynamic platform that recognizes the incredible potential of women as driving force behind global economic growth. It is a platform that celebrates and empowers women of passion and power. Every guest that I speak with, I learn so much. They have done so much contribution in their own unique ways. And today, my guest, I salute her. I admire her. I'm short of words to express my gratitude for her, that contribution silently and behind the scenes that she has made for humanity, the dignity of humanity. She is a doctor by profession, by her education, medical doctor and a psychologist. However, she chose a different path. Dr. Lindner, she started her work in psychology, focusing on dynamics of humiliation in relation to war and genocide, which led to the case studies of Rwanda and Somalia. And moving on, this is a very interesting background that she presents, she brings to the table. She has done many studies, and we will ask her about her work, which has spread the human dignity and humiliation studies as both as transdisciplinary field of academic research and global network of like-minded academics, practitioners in both areas. So she has written many books, several books. In one of her books, Archbishop Desmond Tutu wrote the foreword. I have so much. I don't want to take the thunder away from her, and we'll be talking about those. So I want to welcome Dr. Evelin Lindner. Dear Evelyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so very, very, very much. The admiration is mutual. You know, when I heard your life journey, I was blown away. So much courage, so much visionary insights. I was blown away. You are one of the most courageous women I know on this planet. So it's my honor to be here. Thank you so much.
You tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey of the way.
Yes.
Yes, please take it
I'm
away.
I'm coming from a family that has been deeply traumatized by war and displacement. Just before we went on this recording now, we talked a little bit about transgenerational trauma. And I'm coming from that. And basically now, after many decades of understanding it deeper, it has become a resource for me. Um, Insofar as I know how fragile our world is. My parents, especially the family of my father, they worked so hard to increase the farm they had in Central Europe. For 800 years, their ancestors lived in that area. And so there is a family of 9 children, and they all work hard. And then somebody like Hitler gets into power, and in a very few years, everything is lost. My father, I'm born then into when my father was already displaced. So you see me together with him there. He has lost one arm as a young man in the 40 days before the end of the Second World War. And he has lost his beloved elder brothers in the war. He has lost his farm, that he was to inherit. He has lost his homeland, and he is a multiply humiliated, unwelcome, displaced person. There were millions of these displaced persons after the Second World War, and they were told, why were not you gassed? So here, from being the proud heir of a farm, loving everything, the soil, the animals, feeling, okay, we are at home here. This is my country. This is my farm. This is my property. In a few years, everything was gone, just gone. So the fragility of everything we have on this planet, how quickly we can gamble it away. This is, I think, an insight that is very, very important for me. So I'm aware that, and we were talking about that before, that whatever there is now, we have to be clear that this has been achieved. All the good things we have now have been achieved by people before us. We were talking about the women, and that the generation that is alive now uh, is well advised to acknowledge that what they have has been achieved by their mothers and grandmothers, and that it might be lost, and that they have to do more than simply enjoy the privileges they have. So this is, I think, the lesson I learned from the background into which I was born.
But thank you for sharing that. And displacement of any kind, either from war or for natural disasters or something, that's very traumatic. And as in my limited understanding of psychologies and human mind, in my thought process is that brain doesn't understand the difference between the kind or the type of trauma. For us, for our psyche, is trauma, right? So the impact is the same of the displacement. The trauma coming from displacement either is from war, either is for any kind of other
Yes.
situations. So yes, so there are like multifolds of topics, but I want to stay close to your area of expertise of the books that you have written, the human dignity and humiliation studies. Your book, The Humiliation to Dignity, you go back hundreds of years of research. I remember talking about my book and talking to you for hours, and those were non-ending conversations. And I had dug out some notes from my conversations from you, and you talk about the journey of the humiliation, um, when it became the timeline, goes back hundreds of years of the recorded history. So I would like you to, for our audience, like you to kind of give, perhaps in a layman's view of the why this is important to know.
Right. Yes. So I was a psychologist for 7 years in Egypt. And just imagine it's not just in Egypt that you have honor killing, or femicide. It's in many places. And just imagine you are a therapist and a woman is in front of you crying, saying, "My daughter has been raped. And we have tried to cover it up. We have tried to marry her off to the rapist. Nothing works. Now I have to ask my brother or her brother to kill her because she is like a diseased limb on the body of the family. The family has been dishonored, has been humiliated, the family honor. And so to repair it, we have to amputate that diseased limb." And I sit there, or imagine you sit there. What would you think? I thought my humanity is being humiliated simply by listening to that. How is it possible that killing can heal humiliation? Shouldn't the girl have trauma therapy and live? How come? Isn't this is a completely different universe of humiliation here? That she lives, the mother, and I live. So, and if I then would have told the mother, "What a bad mother are you? How can you ever think of killing your daughter?" Then she would have said, "Oh, you are an arrogant Western person who humiliates my culture." So, this was in 1987, perhaps, that I was in such a situation. And so it's many, many years ago. And for example, this is one situation where I then ask myself, why do I think I'm right? Is it that I could say to the mother, "Oh, because I'm from Europe, I'm right"? No. Or, what kind of justification do I have for myself, for my own stance? Or should I just say, "Oh, as long as you are in Europe, you shouldn't do it because there it's a crime, but just go anywhere else, and there you can kill the daughter"? No, because I respect your culture, and if your culture indicates that the daughter must die, you have to do it. What is that? And so basically, this is just a small metaphor. This story is a small metaphor for the my question to myself. Why do I think I'm right? And so from then on, I really studied history to understand it deeper. And now I do understand. After many years of studying, I do understand. I can now talk to mothers like that in a very respectful way, and I have an argument now. So, what is my argument? I look back like 300,000 years when we modern humans started to walk this planet. We were in small groups and we could follow the wild food. And if we believe in our anthropologists and archaeologists, we didn't have a deep hierarchy. It was quite egalitarian. There might have been conflict, but not systematic war. So, it was a win-win situation. You could always go further, follow the wild food. Our ancestors did not know that the planet is limited in size, but at some point it was bound to happen that the fact that the planet is limited, this fact hit them. If the planet were larger, we would still go in small groups and follow the wild food. Okay, when did that moment come? It was around 11,700 years ago. There was a climate change also. The last ice age ended, but also our ancestors had populated the last continent, South America. Something started that anthropologists call circumscription. You couldn't simply go further. There were other people, it was limited. And some people started to stay put and get more resources from the soil under their feet. It was the beginning of complex agriculture, sedentary life. And today we are used to celebrate that. It's the start of civilizations. but it's also the start of war. It's a win-lose situation. That's the moment you plant something and it's either your territory or my territory. And it's a win-lose situation, and you try to protect your territory from your neighbors. You get some weapons or some fences, and to defend yourself, your neighbors get afraid. You have an arms race, and you have almost always war on our planet for the last 3% of our history. So, and in that context, it's called the security dilemma by political scientists. It means, I'm afraid of you, I get some weapons, you get more afraid, it gets worse and worse until, and you want peace, but the dilemma is that you create war. Okay, so that is our ancestors for the last 3% of our history, roughly, it's very simplified said, are in the grip of this dilemma. And even the most peace-loving overlord could not escape it. If he or she did not get weapons to defend themselves, he or she would be deposed by her own people even. Okay, so in that context, something arises that the scholar Riane Eisler calls the dominator model of society. It's a triangle. It's a strong man at the top. The young men are taught to say or to feel that it's honorable to defend the in-group at the border against enemies coming from outside, to kill or die in combat. And the women have to raise the next generation inside. So we see it in Ukraine now. Men have to fight, the women have to bring the children into safety. That is the dominator model of society that is arising in the context of a strong security dilemma. And in that context, honor killing has a logic. It's that context in which also the woman, the mother, is caught. In that context, to keep that hierarchy that is there, the humiliation is regarded as a pro-social tool by the masters in that context, to keep that hierarchy in place. So it's even the beating of the wife. The aim is to teach her respect for the hierarchy. So humiliation is regarded as a pro-social tool in the hands of the masters. It can only be interpreted as a violation of honor among equals, like aristocrats can go to duel, but the beaten wife cannot go to duel with her beating husband in that context. So we have this big turning point when this win-lose situation started, systematic war started. This is, in my view, the first big turning point in human history. It started around 10,000 years ago, 11,000 years ago. It's very simplified to say that in other regions of the world much later. So, and now we as humanity are at the second significant turning point, because now for the first time we can get out of the security dilemma, because the security dilemma is based on fear of the so-called enemy. But we have now a global village. There shouldn't be any enemy anymore. We are neighbors. And good neighbors or bad neighbors. But the notion of enemy is basically no longer there if you are one unit and there is no outside anymore. If there's only one in-group and no out-group, there is no enemy anymore, no outside enemy. And so the justification for the hierarchy is no longer there for this model of society. And Riane Eisler contrasts this with a partnership model of society. So that is the turning point. And we are in this turning time. And we have different forces fighting now. We have you and me. We want to go into the partnership future, the global village. We as human family in this village manifesting what a good family manifests normally, which is cooperating, it's mutual solidarity. This is what we need to survive on this planet. And in that context, humiliation is no longer a pro-social tool. It's a violation of the dignity of everyone. So the position or the status of humiliation changes dramatically. It becomes a violation, no longer a pro-social tool. Okay, so This is the turning time in which we are. And the woman, the mother who thinks it's her duty to kill the daughter or let the daughter kill, she is in the dominator model of society in the last 3% of our history. And I am the therapist. I'm already in what we need to survive on this planet. Because if we stay in this dominator model of society where one village is pitted in fear against the next village, then we will be, it is a suicidal path for us as humanity. So we have, if we want to survive in dignity on this planet, we have to get together into one united global village of unity in diversity. Not uniformity without diversity, of course, that would be going too far, but no longer division without unity. This is what we have now. The United Nations are now disunited nations, and this is a suicidal path. So we are at this turning point where we have the choice as humankind to go into a future of partnership where also humiliation is a violation of dignity, or to stay in the past, where and the past will be has had its logic because our ancestors could not leave behind, could not overcome the security dilemma. This is something we can now. Our ancestors could not, but we can. So if we take this chance that we have, the opportunity, if we use it, we can go into a dignified future. If we don't use it, we can't. So that is what I explained to the mother. It's not me who is right, but it's if we look at human history that we see, aha, okay, our ancestors throughout the last 3% of our history were caught in a dilemma and they couldn't get out of it. And it's not their fault. It's not the fault of the mother that she thinks it's her duty to have the daughter killed. It's not her fault. It's the logic into which she is bound. And she is sad, but she like a surgeon who has to amputate a limb. He doesn't like to do it, but it's his duty. So this is how she feels. And she is right in that logic. But now humanity, we as humanity, we have entered new times. We have new opportunities that our ancestors didn't have. And in that context, the girl must live and may receive trauma therapy. So that is the big narrative of big history into which have embedded my own gut feeling of, okay, where do we go as humanity? And how do such stories fit into that?
Yes, so you gave so much insights, as well as the thought process and uh, pondering and provoking of minds. Thank you for your answers and your courage that you showed how to move forward. I want to share something as you brought in, Global Village, which I write about my recent book so much on a Sanskrit concept, the ancient concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which
Mhm.
means the earth is a family. So
Absolutely.
in a family, we all have different ideas, different thought processes. We're
Mhm.
not cookie cutter people in a family.
Mhm.
But we live together. We learn to uh, adjust, compromise, or love each other, even though we have differences. And the same idea of that thought in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam pertains. And you brought up as a, we are neighbors, either good neighbors or bad neighbors. We're living in a global village which has become digital. Within the seconds, we can connect. In the first time of the human history, we can connect across the oceans, across the mountains instantly with other people. We spend more time with our colleagues in different nations in our workday than we spend with our family in a day. So I look at those interesting dilemmas that are happening. And as I was listening to you, you bring in the cultural shifts over the thousands of years. Because we are digitally connected, we have more than ever in the 21st century to learn about other cultures. Everything is hybrid right now. Everything has become fusion, the foods and the cultures and the cosmopolitan lifestyles and things we buy and exchange product and services globally. But you still have the ideas that you presented in your books and in your thoughts here. They're not cultural components, they are part of our humanity. We can buy the products online. They're made in one country and sold all over the planet. Our DNA doesn't work that way. That's very unique to us and our cultural context. I have so many things. I want to ask you now about your book. Your first book was Making Enemies, Humiliation and International Conflict. Your third book that you received um, Foreword from Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Give me a little bit more. Tell us, our
Yes,
audience, in your the third book,
right.
Gender,
Basically,
Humiliation, and Global Society. I
yeah,
think this is very
basically,
relevant.
Desmond Tutu contributed with a foreword because basically it's a book about what I call big love. Big love. It's Satyagraha.
Satyagraha. Yes.
It's very related to that, or Ubuntu, which is
Ubuntu.
the South African philosophy.
Yeah.
And I basically this is a book that also connects to the next book, which is titled A Dignity Economy. If we look at the past 10,000 years or 5,000 years, if we look at the dominator model of society, then everyone was mutilated in a way, the soul and the body, you could say, and I use the body as a way to show that. The men in power, they had to use their sword arm, the right arm, to strategize, to plan, to be in the public sphere, while they were not allowed to change the diapers of their babies. Their left arm was somehow bound behind with their back. The women and lowly men had the opposite handicap. They were not allowed to plan and to strategize in the public sphere. They had to stay inside and do the maintenance work and harmonize. So the care work was separated from the leadership work. And none of them could use both arms. And now we are in a time, and I'm working for a future where women and men can use both arms, where women learn how to lead and men learn how to care. And we need the caring template much, much more in the future. We do not need the combat aspect of masculinity that many men have learned. We do not need that anymore because it's suicidal. We need to have the courage of men to do care work, global care work. So the work that has been kind of looked down upon in women, namely the care work. This care work is now what we need to survive on this planet. And men, I invite men to gather the courage to engage in that and learn it, and to encourage women to think in leadership, to learn how to lead. So this is my path. And if we look at that, then in the book Dignity Economy, I analyze you could call it a systemic rape that our economic systems perpetrate on us all, and the lack of care. It's too combative. Our economic systems are too combative. They are too much in the old traditional masculinist script of being. It's a competitive world where we all should compete for domination. And that is a suicidal path. So economic growth is a notion we should never use again, because on a limited planet, unending economic growth is an impossibility. It's absurd. And our task as women is to say that and to make that clear. The only thing that is infinite as a resource on our planet is solar energy. All other, the water, not only is our planet limited in its size, now we know that clean water is limited, clean air is limited, minerals are limited. We cannot think in terms of of unending economic growth. And when we look at the Sustainable Development Goals, then we have to look at goal number 8. It has an exponential curve. And this curve is destructive for all the other goals if it is not changed, because we need to go in circles. We cannot go in exponential curves. And this is the task of women to make that clear, because we need circles, we need care, we don't need combat. We don't need more combat against nature to kind of exponentially exploit it more. Our planet cannot carry that anymore. This is the wrong template if we continue with that. It's a suicidal template. And it's the women's task to make that clear and to invite men into the caring work of, to be stewards of our planet. So from my point of view as a leader, I make a point in this book, Dignity Economy. I showed what big love means. Big love means, for example, to highlight how our economic systems at the moment are destructive in many, many ways. In a short nutshell, I usually say, at the moment we have put ourselves into a trap where everything that is profitable is being done, whether it's good or bad. And everything good that should be done is not done if it's not profitable. So some good things are done because they are profitable, but many bad things are done because they are profitable, and the good things that should be done are not done because they're not profitable. What is the net result? A lot of bad things are happening, and they are destructive to us. So we have to get away from putting profitability and economic growth at the top of our agenda, and to sell our mission in that way as women. Our leadership task is to say, no, we have to be very careful. We have to, for example, in our network, we have a woman, Genevieve Vaughan. She has developed the theory of gift economy. And this theory of gift economy explains how a gift economy could work. If you and me were to be asked, how should a world constitution now be written? You remember Eleanor Roosevelt had that task in 1948. She suddenly had to formulate the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. If you and I were asked to write a world constitution now, I would suggest to include the gift economy there. And how would that manifest? We would have to think through that. And there is an anthropologist who is very helpful in that. His name is Alan Page Fiske, and he has studied many communities, and he found that there are basically 4 ways a group can collaborate. And the first is what he calls communal sharing. This is what happens in a good family. You give what you have, and you get what you need, and you take care of the boundaries of resources. You don't ask too much. And there is empathy, there is love, there is solidarity. It is the most comprehensive and qualitative way of interacting. The next is authority ranking, and it's a hierarchy, and it can be a good or a bad one. Like, it can be the good teacher, the good elder, and this is what you are. You are the good elder. Or it can be an oppressive tyrant. So it can have a good or a bad expression. Then comes equality matching. This is exchange. I give you that and you give me that back. And there we start calculating. It's already much narrower, much more quantified. And then we have market pricing, where is exchange against paper, basically, and with a 0 point. And you calculate. So now, as humanity, we have put that pyramid, we have turned it. We have given priority to the most quantification of our lives. So basically, literally, we sell our souls. And we sell our family cohesion. We sell the cohesion in society. We literally sell this because we put profitability, the market pricing, as a priority for everything. And this is a wrong priority. And we women have the task to say that. We have to turn it again. And communal sharing, the most qualitative way of being together, needs to be prioritized again. And why is it not? Because we still live in a male-dominated world where the care work, the communal sharing, there is the care work included there, still is being regarded with negligence or as something negligible. So therefore, housework is not paid. All care work, it doesn't get paid as much as the leadership work or combative work. We have a huge machinery to make war, but where is the machinery to make our planet survive? So we see that this care work that women have been relegated to is still being down prioritized, and our task is to resist that and to bring a different message to the world.
But thank you. Thank you so much. And I like that, the care mindset that men need to adopt. And I want to share my thoughts when in my book, Women Leadership in 21st Century. This is a holistic approach to leadership, not with a high-fi corporate title or elected officer stepping up to the plate, coming together, collaborating, not competing, because the competition doesn't work, right? So because men accustomed to being in power and in charge as a competitive and combative uh, strategy then. So coming with and collaborating, and as I was listening to you and I'm thinking, my thought process here is that uh, collaborating, and you mentioned teaching care to the men or the hunters and women and gatherers roles and caretaking role. The caring of the planet doesn't mean that you'll be doing dishes or changing diapers, but nothing wrong with that, and you do that for your family. But caring of the planet, caring of the people, right?
Absolutely.
It is the thought right now. But I do hear that, and I do observe that the younger generation, Gen Z, are gender neutral, which is a very positive change. However, my own observation and thoughts where I need to kind of do more work to get to a level to say, okay, I am saying that with an authority. I'm not there yet. The generational mindset, even if they are gender neutral, our DNA that has been passed on, is that going to show up? Or is it kind of a permanent change? I'm doubtful of the permanent change with Gen Zers. It might be another generations. However, very important points that I am going to, what you had shared, divide into two sides of it. One is the cultural, the humanity, and which is very intertwined, is our resources, our planet's limiting resources. And I do address both of them in my book as well. The resources are limited, right? The droughts in due to wars or for whatever multiple reasons, the cultivatable earth is no longer cultivatable, or people are displaced who owned those lands. The humanity's need for survival, the food is the most essential. And as I was researching, it struck me to come across this paper that in 10 years, towards the end of 2030 or 2035, sometime around that, 30% of the humanity would look to oceans for food. How valid that thought is, I really gave a lot of rationalization, reasoning, and understanding that article. And I thought about it a lot, and I want your input into it. That survival of humanity depends on the resources. We cannot separate the two. They're
Right.
intertwined. They're intertwined. However, in our digital age, in our global village, with the age of AI, where information overload and uh, or AI bias and lack of ethics at the moment, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, as we speak today, things may change, but as of now, there's so much uncertainty and unknown. How do you see women stepping up in a caring world into our digital economy, in our global village, and not demanding a role that has a title, which I call the role with a title, role without a title. Step up to leadership roles. Take that right arm that was given, the active arm to hold the sword, as you expressed, that women come in to understand, allow themselves to educate about it. How do you see in our current world, especially in this decade, how this uh, chaos and dilemma um, ending, or women taking role in a better path where we are?
In the last chapter of my gender book, to which Desmond Tutu contributed, I address it to women in your age. I think this is the group of people who is called on to save the world, if we want to say that, because they have children, they have experience, and many then go to simply care for their grandchildren. And I think that is it's a good thing to care for grandchildren, but now the planet and humanity and all its living beings, not just the human beings, also the animals, we are part of nature. If the animals don't survive, we don't survive. So this age group has now another responsibility, and I'm preaching that basically has another responsibility than simply taking care of the grandchildren. Now the planet needs that group, women in that age group, because they have the experience and they have basically done their duty. And from the traditional male perspective, they are dispensable then, can't make children anymore. Yeah, they should not, good for the grandchildren. No, now the planet needs these women to stand up and to become politically active. It's a bit like if you imagine you are in a lifeboat and humanity is in a lifeboat now. And whoever in a lifeboat, Thich Nhat Hanh, he used that image of the boat people from Vietnam. If they panicked in the boat capsized. If there was one person who was grounded and calm, they made it. So now the role of women is to take care of this lifeboat, to be grounded. That is the first task. How to get grounded. And so it's you could call it self-care, even though I don't like that notion, but it's to become grounded yourself and then to stand up in that lifeboat. And all the women in that age group, with their experience, they then can stand up. And from my point of view, should stand up and take over the leadership of the boat so that the boat doesn't capsize. Because what is the old way? And I'm, by the way, don't blame any man for, because for thousands of years, men learned that to be a man means to be combative. And men who didn't have it in their nature, they sacrificed their soul to learn it. And we know that veterans coming back from combat to commit suicide. So it's a deep wound on the man that we perpetrated in the past millennia. So I don't blame any man, but now we invite them to not try to throw out some people, infighting on the boat, or to throw out half the people out of the boat so that the rest can survive. At the end, there will be two people surviving. Yeah, I usually say that my work is to work for dignity. Either we make it in dignity or we don't make it. If you say in a boat, oh, we won't make it, then you will sink. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the only thing you can do is to say, let us cooperate, let us keep together in love. Even if we don't make it, we go down in dignity. So that is my path. So either we survive in dignity or not in dignity. But what I want to avoid is the survival in indignity, that there is a blood path and only two at the end survive, or one. That is not, this is an undignified survival, or the undignified downfall, that, so much infighting that the whole boat is going down. So I'm working for dignity, whether we make it or we don't make it, but we can only make it, or have a small chance to make it, in a lifeboat if we lovingly hold hands. And this is the task of our generation of women. To my view, this is where they can step up.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And from my thought process, where I look at women of all generation have the power. We are the
Yes.
nurturers. We have the empathy and the resilience and the ability to forgive and bring everyone to the table. We do have that power. I say that women to women, realize your power, understand your power, know your power, and use it gently to bring everyone back to the table. And that's the only way, in your words, that we can teach men or young men to be care providers for the planet. So everything else includes in is humanity, is every living being. Yes, definitely. As we're running out of time, but I have a couple of very quick questions that please put it in your own
May
words.
I just interrupt you one moment, because I don't want to lose that thought. I think it's extremely important to qualify power, because men, power over. It's the masculinist definition of power, is power over. And what we women need to strive for is power for. So just power can go in a very destructive way. And there are women who go the destructive way. So it's not in the nature of women to go the constructive way necessarily. Also women can go the destructive way of power over. So it's powerful, and that's the immensely important qualification of power.
Thank you. Thank you. So the question that I want to ask is that we talked so much about the dignity, humiliation, conflict, cultures, etc. I would like your thoughts on what can women do for peace projects, peace initiatives, projects meaning it could be in your known circle where there is conflict of thoughts. Um, my and I'm sharing why this question is coming. Um, uh, I believe that if you're not peaceful at heart, you yourself are not in peace. Your family is not in peace. You can't talk about peace. And the peace doesn't live in pacts and negotiations or contracts or you know in just paper. It has to be inherited in our hearts. Share your thoughts. What can women do to take charge and promote peace?
Yeah, as I said, to ground themselves first, even in the midst of trouble. And I think, why do I emphasize our generation? Because younger women, if they have children, they are a bit caught in what is called the tyranny of emergency, and so our generation is free of that tyranny of emergency,
Right.
and therefore we can expand our role and care for more than just the children, small children. younger women, they shouldn't neglect their children, So the role of older women is to change the world system, our economic systems, so that this entire situation can change. Because to have women care for their children, basically, like in the Western world, they have to sacrifice their pension. They don't get into influential position in the society because the childcare time takes them away from a career in like a man would have. So that is not the good setup of society that we have, and it's the responsibility of us women to think about how should a society look like that doesn't perpetrate that. Okay, so for me, I see many women being extremely wonderful peacemakers locally. And um, my personal invitation is for women to think bigger. And like Eleanor Roosevelt, she was a woman thinking big. And I think we women, or the traditional role of women, is to limit yourself to your local context, your family, your extended family. And my invitation is expand your horizon and learn about, as I said, all of human history and what is needed. Try to think up a world constitution for a dignified world, a dignifying and dignified world constitution for our world. Try to think about that and try to devise what you think such a world constitution should entail. Try to care for the entire planet and try to think of it first. So that is what is, to my view, missing most, because women are do so-called small piecework in their local environment a lot. But it's not impactful enough, because the larger context is counteracting it. So if you have, I know so many idealistic women, also men, who started an NGO with wonderful ideas, and they were so encouraged to to get funding for it. But the moment it touched the larger power structure, the funding was cut. And then they said, "Oh, we had such a wonderful project," and then the funding was cut. "Oh, now we are so exhausted." So basically, a lot of people go are kind of put into exhausting projects, so that at the end of the project they will be have no strength anymore to think bigger. So start with thinking bigger. I myself do not engage in small scale projects. I don't want to, there are enough people doing that. I want to ask women to think bigger.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that is very valid point. Think bigger. Some will succeed to get there. They will overcome the power struggle, and that is what is needed. So thank you for sharing that. And for our audience, I wanted to just say a few words here, that open up your hearts and minds. Our planet needs us, our next generation needs us, our future needs us. We have a lot of power within us. Don't limit yourself. There is so much needs to be done, and we don't need big titles to be leaders. We can be leaders in our own rights. So thank you for joining us, and I want to thank you, Dr. Lindner. It was an exciting for me to meet you and have conversation and share that with our audience as well. And mm, and we'll share your information about your books, and if someone is interested, how to find them. And until next time,
I give them away as a gift if you write to
all
me.
right. Well, absolutely. Absolutely. I would take that information and we will pass this on for our audience. And I salute you for the work that you do. You have made such a personal sacrifices to leave your practice and be a icon to do human dignity work. And please I wish you a long life and a lot of
And you too, you
strength,
too.
strength to continue your work. And so until next time, I am host Ritu Chopra, and you are watching Women of Power podcast. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope that information our guest has shared is helpful and you are taking away valuable tips and knowledge. We are committed to supporting women and building cause-driven businesses that create positive impact in their communities. Join us in the movement for change. Take action now and be part of Let's Come Together movement. Together, we can recognize, celebrate, and empower women who are making a difference in today's economy. Connect with passionate and powerful women, collaborate on cause-driven businesses, and build a better future for our communities. Let's advance sustainable goals for the people, planet, and prosperity. Join the Let's Come Together movement, a private community, today and be catalyst for change in creating and raising conscious leaders of tomorrow. Thank you.